True Story Media.
Insurance isn't one size fits all, and shopping for it shouldn't feel like squeezing into something that just doesn't fit. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they show you options that fit your budget. Enough hunting for discounts, trying to calculate rates, and tinkering with coverages. Maybe you're picking out your very first policy, or maybe you're just looking for something that works better for you and your family. Either way, they make it simple to see your options. No guesswork, no surprises. Ready to see how easy and fun shopping for car insurance can be? Visit Progressive.com and give the Name Your Price tool a try. Take the stress out of shopping and find coverage that fits your life, on your terms. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hey guys, it's me, Javier. I am working on the new series called Chain of Command. It's about a military cult, and it's fascinating, and it has so many layers and so many different ways that I could tell the story, and I'm still working on it. I'm still reporting on it. So I needed a week to buy me some more time. And as I was thinking, I was like, what should I play this week from the catalog? Because, Pretend has been around for it's been around for 9 years, almost 10 years. It's wild. And I have this massive catalog of episodes that I'm sure you missed an episode here and there. And this one that I'm about to play is so memorable because, I get pitched stories all the time. A lot of times they're romance scams and, they're heartbreaking, but a lot of times they start sounding like the same story. But this one, wow, this romance scam, this is like Tinder swindler level because a group of women in Colorado, they were bamboozled by this one guy and they wanted to make sure that no one else fell prey to this man. So they got together and formed Operation Cockblock. And let me tell you, they sold me on just the title alone. Operation Cockblock. I'm not going to say any more. I'm just going to play the episode. Also, stick around to the end of this episode because I'm going to play you a snippet of my new series titled Chain of Command. It's about a military cult and it has so many layers, and I'm working on reporting right now. I'm still reporting on this story because it's just wild. But anyway, stick around. Let me know what you think. All right. Well, without further ado, I am going to play the show. So when was the first time that you realized that maybe he was being unfaithful?
There was this high-end furniture store that he was purchasing furniture from, and I started suspecting that he was cheating on me with one of the people that work there.
This is Dana. Dana is talking about her failed relationship with Bill Sullivan, a Colorado businessman.
Well, I take that back. There was another girl. I was worried about her, and he told me that he could never be with her because she had herpes.
Bill Sullivan assured Dana that this other girl was simply just a friend. So she took him at his word. But Dana tells me that was just one of many affairs. One day, she called the woman
and found out for sure he was sleeping with her. So I think that was really the first one. And again, but he would deny.
It turns out there are dozens, maybe even as many as hundreds of women who say Bill Sullivan is a con man preying on women for their money. In fact, these women have banded together to form what is now known as Operation Cockblock. Operation Cockblock is a self-organized militia of scorned women who claim they have been emotionally and financially devastated by Bill Sullivan. Determined to protect others, they joined forces to expose his lies. They warn new targets, share evidence of his criminal past, and even highlight his ongoing pattern of deception. One woman acted as an inside informant, providing updates on his whereabouts and romantic pursuits. Other women monitored his social media accounts, trying to catch Bill Sullivan in the act. But some women worked behind the battle lines, like this woman named Jen.
Tell me how you first met Bill and how did that start?
Yeah, so I've never physically met him or seen him in person, nothing.
Wait, you've never met him?
Yeah, Jen never dated him. That's the beauty of all of this, yeah.
But he knows of me. He knows me as Sergeant Blocker.
You're Sergeant Blocker? That's awesome. Okay, yeah.
And he went to the police and tried to get me arrested for impersonating an officer, and they said, no, anybody can use the title sergeant.
Every militia needs its frontline coordinator, someone who can communicate directly with the victims or the new targets to warn and educate them. That's basically Jen's role.
We have talked about this case for so many years, and whenever we get together, we're like, we need a wall of whiteboard to connect all the dots.
We need a murder board.
Who knew who and all that. But during that Operation Cockblock, in a month and a half, it was 20 to 25 women that he was working at one time, and had several, it was just every day we were getting another ping from somebody else. It's over 100 women by now. It just kept snowballing and snowballing and snowballing, and it's just has never stopped.
Today, we're going to unseal the details of Operation Cockblock. And I'm going to attempt to reach out to Bill Sullivan to see what he thinks of his vengeful lovers. I'm Javier Leiva, and this is Pretend. Stories about real people pretending to be someone else. Sometimes you just have to be honest with yourself, and I am not a good dancer, I'm not good at sports, and I am not good at shopping and buying clothes for myself. So thank God for Quince. Because Quince sponsors this show, I decided, hey, you know what? Spring is here. I need some new clothes. So I made the leap and I bought this European linen relaxed short sleeve shirt, and I love it. I also got myself a t-shirt, 100% Pima cotton. Wasn't sure what that was until I opened up the package, and it turned out to be the softest thing I've ever felt. The quality is really good. The prices are more than fair, and it feels like you're buying something like really fancy. So go ahead, if you've heard me or other podcasters talk about Quince, go and check it out, because they're 100% European linen shorts, and shirts are starting at $34. I'm telling you, this stuff is lightweight, breathable, and this was the surprising part. It doesn't wrinkle into a mess the second you sit down. But here's the deal. This is why I really like this company, because Quince works directly with ethical factories and they cut out the middleman. And that's why they come in 50 to 80% less than comparable brands without skimping on quality or the material. So refresh your everyday with luxury that you'll actually use. Head on over to quince.com/pretendpod for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/pretendpod for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/pretendpod. So tell me, how did you guys first meet?
It was very random how we met.
This is Dana again.
I'd been married twice, and my second marriage was pretty awful and abusive. My hairdresser, who I was good friends with, Bill, had just randomly walked into her salon to get a haircut and didn't know anything about his history or anything like that. And to be perfectly honest, she's like, I just wanted you to get laid. I mean, because I was not in a very good place with the divorce I was going through. And
you just needed a rebound, right?
Yeah, that's not really my style, unfortunately. And he, just like any good con artist, sociopath, he was charming and attentive and, was very interested in my life, what my interests were. We had a first date, and here we go. He didn't tell me that he had been in prison on that first date.
I mean, how do you bring that up, right? Telling someone you were found guilty of embezzling $1 million from his former employer doesn't usually go over very well. In 1998, Bill Sullivan was working as kind of like the chief financial officer at this Denver DVD and Laserdisc distribution company. Little did the company know that Bill was bleeding their bank account dry, to the point that the company had no choice but to shut down. Bill pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 10 years in prison for this, but only ended up serving about 8 years. But let's get back to Dana and Bill's first date.
We happened to go to the same church at the time. That was kind of a big deal.
At the time, things were looking promising.
He told me that he was going through a divorce.
They had a lot in common. They were both single parents. Dana had a 7-year-old son, and Bill was the father of twin boys. But right away, there were some red flags that she missed, like the way he spoke about his soon-to-be ex-wife.
When he called her a gold-digging bitch right out of the gate, made her into a villain. She supposedly was a stripper, just was with him for his money, and she took it all and took his kids. So, immediately, I don't like this woman, whoever she is.
But eventually, the truth about Bill's criminal history was bound to come up.
So that first date, I guess was a good first date. He had to divulge that he had been in prison because when I did meet him, he was living in a halfway house. I mean, he couldn't drive. He wasn't allowed to drive, things like that.
Did he have an ankle monitor?
He did. When he got out of the halfway house, he had an ankle monitor for about a year. So he did tell me that he had been in prison for embezzlement, but he said that he had invested this money, this $1 million that he had taken from the company, had basically just, quote, paid himself back.
The company called LumiVision Corporation distributed Laserdisc. Remember those? This was 1994, guys. There was this awkward time in between where movies came out in giant pizza-sized discs. LumiVision, the company that Bill worked for, would buy rights to films, then distribute those films to music and video shops like Tower Records. Bill, who claimed to have a degree in accounting, joined the company as a bookkeeper and eventually made his way up to controller. It was his job to track every dollar coming in and every dollar going out of the company. But did Bill Sullivan ever get a degree in accounting? Well, according to an article by Westward magazine, the University of Denver, where Bill says he earned his bachelor's degree, says that it has no record of a William P. Sullivan ever attending there. Maybe if Bill Sullivan had attended business school, he would have learned all about embezzlement in his accounting courses, and that stealing money from a company you work for is not a good idea. But that did not stop him. While working at LumiVision, Bill wrote checks to himself. $2,000 here, $2,000 there. It started off slow, but eventually, Bill cashed up to 2 checks a day. He was also accused of abusing the company credit card, treating himself to vacations, plane tickets, hotels, rental cars, jewelry, you name it.
So what any of us ever saw was what he sort of wanted us to see.
This is Jamie White, the former CEO of LumiVision.
And near the end, when I thought he was paying bills to our creditors, he was actually writing many of them to himself. So he was able to, over about a 4-year period, he was able to get $900, close to $1 million in over the 4 years.
The company's CEO, Jamie White, knew that his company was struggling, but he figured that it was the lack of adoption of Laserdiscs in the market. He had no clue that his wealthy, well-dressed financial controller was bleeding the company dry. In 1998, Jamie White, the CEO, saw the writing on the wall and phased down his operations. Bill must have thought he got away with it until he was arrested and charged with 5 counts of theft. He told investigators that he didn't steal the money, he was just giving himself a raise.
So he admitted that, how he took the money back was wrong and obviously went to jail for it. He did it because he was just taking his own money back because he had invested a lot of his money to keep the company afloat. And of course, it wasn't his fault. It was his partner. He was supposedly a partner in this company, and that Jamie was just hammering it into the ground. And so he was like the white knight. So the money he was putting back into the company was the money that he was embezzling. So it was never his money that he would ride in on his, white horse and say, okay, I'll save. And so everybody looked to Bill as like the savior that was saving the company. But all he was doing was putting some of that money that he was stealing and embezzling and just putting it right back into the company. So it seemed like he was doing a good thing, but he was stealing the company blind.
But Jamie White, the CEO of LumiVision, doesn't remember it that way.
Whatever amount of money in it, I don't remember him doing that, but he certainly never became an owner in LumiVision. He never was part owner at all.
In 1999, Bill Sullivan struck a deal with prosecutors and pled guilty to 1 out of the 5 counts.
He had planned on paying Jamie back every dime.
But back then, when they started dating, Dana didn't have the full story. Bill told Dana not to worry, that he had plans to repay the company for the money he embezzled, and that he was ready to put all of this behind him.
The last check I believe I got from him was for about $750. I think it was last year. And then a number of years before that, a check for $500. And I can't even tell you how much he's paid back over the years. It's in the few thousands of dollars, but with interest, he owes many million.
So it turns out that Bill Sullivan wasn't being so truthful with Dana. To her, he seemed like a remorseful, changed man. She didn't have a reason not to trust him.
I was the best thing that had ever come into his life. He just wanted to make things right so we could have a normal life together. And those are the words I wanted to hear. I mean, at the time, my Christian faith was important to me. I believe that people deserve second chances. He made it sound like he was going to make it right. But he had to get through his, probation and all that kind of stuff. There's always something that, he had to get through before he could actually do what was right. And that just kind of kept me on the hook.
But knowing what she knows now, she realizes that she was in a very precarious situation.
You do try to figure out why in the hell did I fall for, somebody like this and gets, so hooked. I was naive, but he was just above and beyond what I had ever, even seen anything on TV. Like, you think of a psychopath, you think of somebody, a murderer, you don't think of somebody that is, conning you out of your, of your entire life.
And it wasn't like that all the time, right? Like that, his past crimes did not define your relationship, I would imagine. I'm sure you guys had good times too, right?
Yeah. Oh, he was great. Like, he was super attentive.
You talked about other things.
Well,
right?
He was really attentive in that first year anyway. He was really interested in getting to know my son. It was about maybe a month or so into our relationship. He had called me literally on Father's Day, was crying. And so he's in the middle of this terrible divorce. So I already know he's been to prison. His soon-to-be ex-wife had up and moved, like took everything from there. She up and left him, took his kids, all that kind of stuff. And he calls me on Father's Day, and they had done a paternity test. And he had found out that those kids were not his. And I was so crushed for him. Like, I was crying on the phone with him. I mean, I just couldn't even imagine that this evil woman, would do he'd already painted a terrible picture of her, and now this happens, and that pulled on my heartstrings. And that's when I was in for it, because if you've got a soft heart.
Was he pretty emotional too?
Oh, he was crying. Yeah, it was all a lie. The kids were never his. I talked to her after we had broken up, and she gave me the full story on a whole lot of things. But yeah, those kids were never his. So he was lying about that, and he knew that would really get to me, that he found out that those kids weren't his, and how awful that is.
He's got you with this paternity story. He's devastated. He's almost like this wounded bird, that
he had a bad childhood. He was abused. His parents, his mom supposedly died when he was 5. There's a chance that he was maybe adopted. He showed me paperwork, but it looked like, there was literally whiteout on it. There was a sob story for everything.
After Bill Sullivan was released from the halfway house, Dana says that he wanted to move in together. But she pumped the brakes on that idea.
I felt like he needed to, get back on his feet and do his thing. So for that first year, we dated but weren't living together. And he was cheating on me the entire time. He had no credit. He really had no money. He was working for a company that knew about his criminal past, and I wasn't making a ton of money, but I did have good credit, and that's what he took full advantage of was my good credit. So that in that first year, I had put my name on a used vehicle for him, and that's when the whole financial thing started, really, with him.
You see, Bill didn't have a car, and his credit was destroyed. So he asked Dana if she could finance a brand new Range Rover, and he promised that he would make the payments. So she agreed and added the car to her name. It wasn't just a car. Eventually, Bill will somehow manage to convince Dana to also buy a Kawasaki Ninja motorcycle in her name. Then a Mercedes. She thought, as long as he makes the payments, what's the big deal? So he kept pushing and pushing Dana to move in with her.
After we moved in together, we were renting a house.
That's when the red flags started.
This particular night, he was going to go out with his guy friends, whoever they were, and go play poker, which he never did. And I called BS on it, but he went anyway.
Dana knew that Bill had a lot of female friends, but it wasn't until they lived together that she realized the extent of it. After going to play quote-unquote poker with his buddies, he brought a bunch of people home with him, including a woman who we're calling Lisa. Dana already suspected that Bill and Lisa were having an affair.
They came home, and I was upstairs in our room trying to go to sleep, and they went
That's
down.
the part I don't understand. Yeah. So he knows you're home, and he's inviting all these people over?
And they were all really, really drunk, like really drunk.
So you're upstairs. Mm-hmm. He knows that you're upstairs. He's having a party down in this basement with this girl that you already are suspicious of.
Right.
Like, is he that blatant about?
He was that night.
One of the women from the party in the basement walks upstairs.
She knocks on I hear this knock on the bedroom door, and I sit up in bed, and she's, she said hi, and I'm like, hi. I already knew who she was. And she goes, Dana, we're all coupled up downstairs.
Coupled up? What the heck does that mean? The women tried to convince Dana to come downstairs for a drink. Dana asked her, is Bill downstairs with Lisa? Lisa is the same woman Dana suspected was sleeping with Bill.
And she goes, yeah, she's been with him for a long time. I don't remember exactly the word. So that was my confirmation, at least in that moment, that my suspicions were correct. So I went down there and I told everybody to get the fuck out of, my house. I was pretty upset.
But who did she think she was talking to? Did she not know that you were in a relationship with him? Or
no, they thought I was broken up with Bill, and like I was sponging off of him. Bill was completely hammered, so there was really no talking anything through that night. Like I even left and was going down or going to a friend's place.
But that was it? The relationship was over at that point?
No. So I believed what he said. And of course he was going to do better. My name was on the car. You know, we didn't own this house. We rented it. You're already in really deep at this point, or at least I felt like I was. And I was in love with him. I wanted to believe him. And, you know, every time he would screw up, he would find a way back in.
I know, what was she thinking? But you weren't in her shoes. Eventually, time passed, and Bill convinced Dana to buy a house under her name because, you know,
his credit still was completely shot, so it had to be me.
Soon after, she finally confirmed that Bill was cheating on her with this girl named Lisa.
And I broke up with him. And I went out with my friends, and I was just going about my business. And he was showing up at every place that we would go to. Like he was following me around. And it was really late at night. It was like 1:00 in the morning, and we were headed to a restaurant. One of my girlfriend's boyfriend's family owned a restaurant. We were just going to go hang out there. And I get these series of texts like, you know, I'm just saying goodbye. I'm sorry I ruined your life, blah, blah, blah. And so I whipped a Yui and I went home, and the garage door wouldn't open up. And so I went through the front door, but he had locked the garage door, so I couldn't, you know, open it that way. And when I walked into the house, I mean, it was just filled with exhaust fumes. And so I went out there, and he's like passed out, and I'm trying to wake him up. He wouldn't wake up. No, he didn't do it right, by the way. He just turned on the car. There was no...
It didn't go into the car, yeah.
No, but it was completely fake. But I ran inside. I got the phone. Before I called 911, I was like, I am calling 911. You need to wake up, you know, and with his past and everything, that, you know, the cops showing up probably wouldn't be a great thing. But he wouldn't wake up, so I called 911, and all they could hear was me saying, get out, because I was trying to get him to wake up and get out of the car. And then all of a sudden, he pops up, he opens the garage door, and he puts it in reverse, and then he kind of slowly backs out, and then kind of slowly goes into the lawn, and then stops, and then he passes out again. And he had this spit like running down his chin. And by that time, the 911 operator had called, you know, we've got the police, we've got paramedics, and we have the fire trucks. Because I never really even said anything to her. All she could hear me say was, get out, get out, get out. So in this little sleepy cul-de-sac neighborhood, I mean, it was just lit up like Christmas. And then he pops up again and goes inside. And he goes up to our bedroom upstairs. I mean, I am just literally looking at them, and, you know, and so they went up there, and then they took him to the hospital. He was put on a 72-hour hold. The counselor there, she flat out told me that she thought he was faking it. And I thought she was a monster, because who fakes something like this?
You believed it?
I believed him. Yeah. And he was on that 72-hour hold. He got flowers from one of his other women that he was sleeping with while he was there. I saw her. But of course, he wasn't sleeping with her either. You know, she's just a friend. And it worked, because I went back to him.
So that was just a big ploy just to get you back?
Yeah.
So he has a suicide attempt, he wins you back.
Yeah, we probably lasted about 6 or 7 months beyond that. It was that summer that we finally broke up. I mean, I was done, really done, and he was not leaving.
Finally, Dana had enough of Bill. And that's when Operation Cockblock was born. More on that after the break. Have you listened to the Jordan Harbinger Show? Because if not, you're missing out. Because if you like this show, You'll definitely like the Jordan Harbinger show. I always tell people Jordan Harbinger is like my big brother in podcasting. I want to be him when I grow up. No, but seriously, I've been fortunate enough to be a guest on Jordan's show. We talked about romance scams and it was awesome. This man is a great interviewer. He has amazing guests on his show. Just recently, I listened to an episode called How Fear Separates Saints from Psychopaths, which is a topic that I find fascinating because that's what Pretend's all about, right? It's about studying these people's psychology. Well, Jordan had a guest that talked about many famous studies, including the Stanford experiment, the Milgram shock test, and the Kitty Genovese story that turns out was either deeply flawed or outright fabricated. So if you are into interesting topics all the way around, from sports, politics, even some true crime, you got to check out the Jordan Harbinger show. Search The Jordan Harbinger Show, that's Harb as in boy, IN as in Nancy, GER on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Well, we broke up. He moved out. I tried to hold on to the house, but I was in deep debt with a lot of things at this point.
The house, what else were you?
The house, I had put my name on a Mercedes. Like, I had a credit card that was all from our relationship that was, I was like $23,000 on it at 21% interest. I was $25,000 upside down on that Mercedes. I was able to do a short sale on the house. I was upside down about $30,000 on that. He would constantly use that excuse that he didn't have money for groceries. He didn't have money to go out to dinner, all that kind of stuff. So I was paying a lot of the expenses and everything too.
How did he have money for a Mercedes if he didn't have money for any of those things?
Well, he could figure out a way to pay for that. But when he ended up dumping that Mercedes on my driveway, and it was like a $900 a month payment, and I paid on that Mercedes for about 9 or 10 months.
Yeah, but he dropped it off on your driveway because you threatened him, right?
Well, I told him that I was going to call the police.
Dana had enough of Bill Sullivan.
I called and found out for sure he was sleeping with her. I knew that he was sleeping with.
Dana then started digging through public records.
I found a letter. He was disputing a charge on his credit card to an escort service.
And remember Lisa, the woman that Bill was seeing the whole time he was dating Dana? The same woman that Bill was coupled up with in Dana's basement? Well, she too was originally smitten by him. They dated for almost 8 months before she learned the truth, and that Dana was right about him. Dana was determined to find out who else was he potentially seeing. She then scoured dating sites and immediately found his profile. It turns out that Bill was seeing a woman that we're going to call Emily. Again, not her real name. Emily met Bill on Match.com. She was thin, blonde, and looked a whole lot like his ex-girlfriend, Dana. Here's Jen, who you heard from earlier in the episode, aka Sergeant Blocker. Jen was friends with Emily.
When she first started telling me that she was dating this guy, Bill, and she was super excited about him, and as time went on, like a month or so, I would be like, oh, when do we get to meet your new boyfriend? And she's like, oh, well, we're just kind of laying low. He doesn't really have a whole lot of money, so we just order Chinese food in and stay at home and watch movies and yada, yada. She told us girls that he has an ankle monitor. And I was like, an ankle monitor? I'm like, well, who is this joker? And she's like, well, and then that's when she kind of told the story. She started telling me that his ex-girlfriend Dana was harassing them and calling and asking, harassing Bill for money, and she's crazy and all this stuff. And I'm like, maybe you should reach out to her and find out what's going on with this guy.
Here's Dana again.
He brought her to the Christmas party. I was a front-end manager at this place, and I was bartending, and she walked in, and we really could be sisters. I mean, it was bizarre.
They look alike, sound alike, yeah. So I guess one night her and Bill were in the car driving somewhere and Dana called and he had her on speakerphone.
Emily told Dana to leave Bill alone.
When that call happened, I said, basically, keep an eye out for the red flags. That was her first indication that maybe I wasn't this crazy ex, that I was trying to warn her.
At first, Emily dismissed Dana's warning, but
some things are not adding up. And she's like, yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way. I've been questioning some stuff.
Emily started doing her own research and found Bill's Match.com profile. He listed himself as single. Not long after that, Emily returned to Dana's workplace at the golf course.
And she came in and I just looked, and nobody was really in the bar area. And she sat down and I said, I don't know what you're doing here, but I don't want any trouble from you. All I'm doing is trying to do my job. She's like, no, I'm not. And I think by that time she had broken up with him.
Because she had loaned him money.
$5,000. Yeah.
He kept asking for money, like, oh, I need $1,000 for this or whatever.
She wanted to leave Bill, but not without getting the $5,000 she loaned him.
And so she took the bike.
The Kawasaki Ninja motorcycle his ex-girlfriend Dana bought him.
And threw it into her car and held that for collateral.
Emily, determined to warn others just as Dana had warned her, reached out to a woman named Allison. Allison was one of the women she suspected Bill was cheating on her with. Emily met Bill on Match.com. Just like the others, she was impressed with his charm and appearance of wealth. The relationship lasted almost 8 months. During that time, Bill convinced Allison to pay off the remaining debt on the motorcycle that Dana bought him. Allison even paid for a trip to Hawaii for Bill's 40th birthday. Eventually, Allison got a call from Emily, the woman claiming to be Bill's girlfriend. That call was not enough to spook her. Allison decided to stay with Bill. In fact, he even proposed to her with a $10,000 ring. A ring that Allison paid for herself. Luckily, Allison broke off the wedding plans. And $50,000 in debt later, Bill left Allison literally bankrupt. I know I'm throwing around a lot of random female names at you, but you need to understand the scale of the story. The next lady, who we're calling Michelle, says that she was also duped by Bill Sullivan, but she quickly took matters into her own hands. After a month of suspecting infidelity, she posted Bill Sullivan's picture on a Facebook group to see if anyone recognized him. Pretty soon, she got a bite. The woman said that was her boyfriend, and that she'd been dating him for more than a year. Then more women came forward. The women decided that they should do something about this. Bill Sullivan needed to be stopped. So they reached out to Dana, and, well, the rest is history.
Okay, so who coined the term Operation Cockblock?
Me. Because we had 5 or 6 women.
Yeah, they would find the women and Jen would put them in contact with me and I would talk to them. That's pretty much how it went.
Yeah. So I think one day we were all on the phone and I'm like, yes, Operation Cockblock has commenced. And we all just started laughing. So he deleted his Facebook account within the last couple of weeks and created a new Facebook account. Because so many people, what he does is he friends all these women and everybody starts talking on this, are we dating the same guy website? I mean, we have copies of all the different strings and stuff that he...
Is it like a Facebook group or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a private group of women where, they've met somebody online and they may not know this guy and they just throw their picture out there and they say, is there any tea or red flags on this guy? And if there's something to say, people will say it. And he's been on there, I don't know, a handful of times where women have met him and want to know if there's any dirt on him. So kind of a helpful site for women to help each other out.
So if you're a woman and you just meet somebody and you're like, hey, I'm just going to throw this guy's picture up there just in case. It's like that kind of deal. Like I see some red flags. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
One of the women described it as a shock and awe campaign. They were hitting him from every direction. There was even a classified ad on Denver's Craigslist with Bill Sullivan's picture. It read, "Hi, I just want to warn all the women out there that I'm a first-rate con artist, scammer, liar, cheater, and I'm bad in bed. Stay away from me. I will only take your money." Eventually, Westward Magazine in Denver got word of Bill Sullivan and Operation Cockblock.
So I was in San Francisco for work, and that morning, Dana's texted me. She's like, "Oh my God, article ran. And then she sent me a picture of what it was. And it was that doll, that Ken doll, naked Ken doll. And I just died. I was like, oh my God, she took it.
Well, and you have to imagine Westward in print is like an oversized magazine. So it's like 12 by 18, maybe.
And it's in all the restaurants, like when you walk into a restaurant, you see Westward rack right there. So it had this big.
Yeah. Was it on the front cover?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. So it's a Ken doll with the words Operation Cockblock over the private parts.
Isn't that great?
By the way, huge shout out to Melanie Asmar, who wrote the article for Westward. Excellent piece on Operation Cockblock. I'll make sure to link to that article in the show notes.
I mean, even talking to this most recent girl on Facebook, that she only went out with him a handful of times, and then she Googled him and found the article and called it off. But it sounds like she was going down that same road, getting seriously involved with him and everything. And I just started not even giving her a quarter of the story. It's so hard for people to comprehend that somebody can be like this, and that, all of this can be true. And, it's sorted out in my head because I lived it. But when you're trying, us explaining this to you today, there's just still so much more to the story because it's really complicated. And that's how, that's part of the con, is to keep it complicated. Keep it all, upside down and inside out, so you don't know which way is up. And
right, you have to be smothered in it, and in order to understand how you could fall for something like this. Yeah.
So he's working multiple people all at once, and he'll use the same pet names, things like that, because I really feel like it's hard for him to keep everybody's name straight. Like, for instance, Hunnage was one of my pet names, and he used that same pet name. Who calls anybody Hunnage?
Never heard of it. Yeah.
He used that on multiple women. It was special because you're gorgeous, and honey and gorgeous, like, put together. I don't know, some BS like that. He's working multiple people all at once.
All this got me wondering, does Bill Sullivan have a type? I mean, is there a certain profile of women that he targets?
He is going to use anybody. It does not matter. It doesn't matter what you look like. Like, he doesn't have a type. Like, people would say, Shane and I looked exactly alike, so he has a type. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, one period in the last 10 years, he had a lot of Asian girlfriends. He was working his way through the Asian community. And I think they probably wised up to him as well.
He's going to use, it doesn't matter.
That is nuts.
It just doesn't matter who you are. If you are kind of liquid, so to speak, if you got a lot of cash on hand, that's always good for him. So if you've got money to spend, and he's going to hone in on that. Or like an esthetician types. One of them was an esthetician, things like that. So he does not have a type. I hope that didn't sound.
He goes after single moms a lot.
Yeah,
too.
Single moms. I don't know how well that works for him anymore, being in your almost 60 years old. There was one girl in Alabama that was getting ready to leave her husband. Private investigator contacted me. She was leaving her husband and moving to Colorado with their daughter to live with him. His type is green. Yeah, if he's going to get credit or money or something.
I reached out to Bill Sullivan, but he has not returned my request for comments. However, he did go on the record with Westward Magazine back in 2010. He told the magazine, quote, "I think there's a little pack of 2 or 3 women who are out to ruin me," he said. Bill admits that he wasn't always the nicest boyfriend. Quote, "Have I cheated before in a relationship? Yes." He says, "On every woman? No." As for the money that his exes just gave him, he said, "I've never screwed anybody over." But remember LumiVision, the company that he embezzled from? They tried to recoup their money by garnishing Bill's wages. But in order to seize his paychecks, they first need to find out where he works, if he works at all. Here's Jamie White, the former CEO of LumiVision.
Any money that has come in, which has been so little, has really just gone back out to pay possibly a detective here and there to do some looking into where he's at or see what they can find. So at some point, it doesn't really make sense for me to continue doing too much. I think people need to learn to be careful these days and know what they're getting into and realize that there are people that are very slippery. And he'll take advantage of somebody to get money. Mm-hmm. He'll take advantage. I mean, when he was married to one woman, he was obviously seeing another. I mean, he didn't really care. It was literally all about him. And it always will be.
Well, unfortunately, I do a lot of these stories, and it shouldn't surprise me at this point because I've done like 200 and something episodes, but it does surprise me every time because it's like, man, we don't want to live in a world where people like that exist, but they do. They're out there, and like you said, the whole point of this podcast is to warn people of like, look at these women. Like this is a great story because they banded together to try to, prevent other women from falling into the trap.
Yeah, to me, that's the most interesting part of, I guess I'll call it a story now, looking back on it. It sucks what happened to my company and to be honest with you, the 10 really cool creative people that I had working for me. And, he ruined all that. So it's an example of when somebody is so selfish and really narcissistic, how much damage they can do and not blink twice.
As for Dana, I was wondering, did she ever bounce back?
And so are you still dealing with any of the financial fallbacks because of this?
No, I worked 2 jobs for 6 years. I never did file bankruptcy. I was determined not to do it. Looking back, I probably should have. I mean, it did take me about 6 or 7 years to get completely out of debt. And I'm a single mom. I mean, I lived with my parents for a couple of years after that, little things like that, and just worked my ass off until I got all that money paid off. So, but yeah, it'll sting for the rest of my life. That's for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. You said this took a financial toll on you, like the amount of sacrifices that you had to make in order to recover financially. But what about emotionally? Have you recovered from that? Like, have you had normal relationships after this?
I am happily single. I'll put it that way. I always joke my man picker it never really worked very well. So I'm good.
As for Bill Sullivan, Operation Cockblock wasn't the end of his troubles. In 2011, Bill Sullivan became entangled in a Ponzi scheme that swindled more than 120 investors out of $15 million. He joined Bridge Premium Finance as CFO in 2011, a company claiming to offer short-term loans to help businesses pay commercial insurance premiums. Investors were promised a high return of up to 12%. And the company claimed that their money was fully secured. But that was a lie. The company, under owner Michael Turnock, had been operating as a Ponzi scheme since 2002, using new investor money to pay off earlier ones. Despite knowing the company's dire financial state, Bill Sullivan continued to mislead investors, generating false account statements and accepting new deposits. In 2012, the SEC filed a civil lawsuit against both Turnock and Bill Sullivan, freezing their assets and seeking financial penalties. Turnock, the owner of the company, eventually pled guilty in a criminal case and was sentenced to more than 6 years in prison. Bill Sullivan, however, faced only civil charges and was ordered to pay over $226,000 in fines and restitution. Sullivan got off without going to prison, barely paying back what he owed, leaving many of the investors still waiting for their money. Today, Bill Sullivan lives in a $700,000 Colorado townhome. According to public records, the home is financed through a loan provided by, guess what? A new woman in his life. Because of the financial agreement, it is not clear whether Bill's ex-girlfriends, Jamie White, his former boss at LumiVision, or the victims of the Ponzi scheme at Bridge Premium Finance can put a lien on his property to reclaim their loss. And from what I hear, Bill Sullivan is still at it.
Dana and I have been the two that have, since 2014, have really kind of just continued to just keep track of him and, look for information, public information through, Facebook and other stuff to try to just continue Operation Cockblock, which we're continuing to do.
His motivation for being with all these women is that this is a way of survival for him, right? Like he needs
It's a way, yeah. It's a living. It's how he makes his living.
Because he doesn't have a way of putting a down payment on a house or, like the mortgage gets, it's always attached to a woman's name.
We're hearing, as of recent, his tactics are through Facebook dating, and a lot of the women, the common theme is that he likes to move fast, and he puts a lot of pressure on them to start a conversation or meet in person. And, our reply is that he's desperate because we keep getting him fired from jobs.
All right, guys, so this is a clip from my new series called Chain of Command. I am actually releasing the first episode on Patreon and Apple Podcasts on Pretend Plus this week.
Cult leaders. Every cult book in America that's ever been written by real Christians has a list. JWs, Mormons, Seventh-day Adventism. Shall we go on?
This is the voice of Michael Keckel, the CEO and the head pastor of the New Testament Christian Churches of America. I know, it's a mouthful, so we'll just call them NTCC for short.
All of them are listed because the doctrines are erroneous. And some of them promote worship of a person over the worship of Jesus Christ. Those are the people who are all about themselves. Worship me, I have great knowledge. Look to me, I have a special revelation. Look to me, a moron showed me the golden plates.
These clips were pulled from the church's live stream page, and I gotta say, your preacher shouldn't work this hard to convince you that he's not a cult leader. So, why is Michael Keckel saying all this? After all, this isn't your typical sermon. It's textbook cult stuff, according to former members. Mind control, total isolation, financial control, check, check, check. But what makes this alleged cult different is who they're recruiting. Members of the U.S. military. In fact, they brand themselves the ministry to the military. NTCC churches are strategically located near U.S. military bases, especially bases located overseas. Their sales pitch is that they are a home away from home, a safe and welcoming space for single, lonely American soldiers. There are more than 100 NTCC churches worldwide. And if you believe Wikipedia, the New Testament Christian Churches of America, NTCC, has about 10,000 members. But former members believe that those numbers are inflated. They think that the real number might be closer to 3,000 to 5,000 members globally. NTCC operates more like a family-owned business than a church. Michael Keckel inherited the whole thing from its founder, his father-in-law, Roger W. Davis, who died in 2014. By keeping leadership in the family, the succession guarantees continuity of power and money. Keckel even joked about it in one of his sermons.
I'm the chairman of the board, and I'm the pastor of the organization. That's it. Pastor Keckel is the CEO. There's no other CEO in this organization, and it's CEO. I think that's Chief Executive Officer, is that right? But he's not only that, now he's a lot of other things too, but he's the CEO and he's the president. He's the president of the corporation, the organization. There's a lot of authority invested and the CEO and the president of New Testament Christian Churches of America Incorporated. But if you have a problem with the president and the CEO of this organization, he is not leaving.
Today, we're starting a new series called Chain of Command. 2 churches, both targeting the military. And this isn't just a story about control and cult-like behavior. It's about the money they're pulling from their own members and from the U.S. government. I'm Javier Leiva, and this is Pretend. Stories about real people pretending to be someone else. If you want to listen to the rest of this episode, go to Patreon or Pretend Plus on Apple Podcasts. The episode will be available this week, so go check it out. All right, thanks for listening. Take care.